Hey guys, back at WAC Media Days, and I am joined by Dan McCarney of the San Antonio Express News. Some of you may know his writing. Last year covering the Bobcats, and this year it's a little bit different. You get to cover UTSA.
Yes.
So, Dan, tell me a little bit about UTSA and how things are going down there with them.
Well, I mean, the main thing is just we're finally gonna, everything's always going to be super positive and all the positive things they're doing, but now it's down to brass tacks, and we're going to see how the process is really going to start, because they're going to be playing games. So, and it's going to be a really brutal learning curve. They'll have this season as a FCS independent, nothing but freshmen and redshirt freshmen, and then next year in 2012 they're going to get thrown into, even as badly as the WAC has been depleted, it's still FBS competition. Like what you noticed with some of the guys, I was sitting there filing in front of the Utah State running back, and I mean,
big guys,
the guy looked like a bouncer. I mean, he was like 220.
I know.
So it's going to be a big challenge for him, and a lot of questions that'll have to be answered. But I think they've done a reasonably good job laying the foundation. Still have to wonder about their schedule, if they've gotten a little over their head with some of the teams they signed when they were thinking about going independent. Facilities are going to be a huge issue, and then just trying to win football games, period. So we'll see how it goes.
And a lot of Texas State people might want to know about Eric Souza, who transferred from Texas State to UTSA, and Travis Bush, who some feel Coker stole from Texas State, but that's
the thing with Bush is he might not even have been there, because when you get a new staff, basically they usually, not always, but they usually clean house. So he might not even have been there. So that's probably here nor there. I really like Travis. I think he seems like a really driven, very disciplined, pretty creative guy. I like his offense because it's got it reminds me, from what little I've seen in practice, of we've got a local team, Smithson Valley, that they have a very basic fundamental style, but they mix it up.
They're so good.
There's versatility, but there's that, they'd always line up in their two tight single back, and then they would mix a lot of clever stuff in there, and that's what I see with Trav. Is a lot of stuff of what they do is just a basic pro I formation, which nowadays with the 5 receiver shotgun you don't see a lot of, and I think there's still room for that basic stuff. So I generally, and he'll throw some wrinkles in there, some reverses, some trick plays. So I think he seems to be pretty good. Obviously, his dad was a fabulous coach, Bruce Bush. Obviously, everybody in San Marcos remembers him.
They kind of know him a little bit.
Yeah.
What about Eric Souza? How's he looking at QB?
I don't think Eric's a superstar. Like, he's not going to overwhelm you, but the thing that stands out to me is the intangible stuff. I mean, I kind of joke around. I've never said this to him, but Captain America.
He's
one
of those guys.
Good-looking kid, real sharp, very polite, he's going to know the playbook inside and out. He's going to know the game plan. He's going to, do what the coaches want. He's not going to get into trouble. He's going to take care of class. And he's a pretty good player, on top of that. I don't know if he would have been able – I saw Arndt play a couple times last year. I don't know if he is better than him. I doubt he would have been able to beat him out. But I think for UTSA, being able to have – any player that had experience with their system under Bush, especially as a quarterback, I think that's huge for them when they're going to be throwing out freshmen and redshirt freshmen. Funny thing is, he's one of the veteran guys on the team, and he's
redshirt sophomore.
Basically. So that's the situation they're in.
And now, branching off of UTSA a little bit, now to the WAC. I mean, were you surprised today that there wasn't more talk about the teams, the team like the Bobcats? What can we expect out of them? More so, the recruiting bed that Texas is.
Well, I think that's a lot of that has to do with the fact that nobody knows what these teams are going to bring.
And they're not going to be playing until 2012. So.
That, and then obviously UTSA nobody knows anything about them. Even their own coaches and players don't know anything, what they're going to be. It's just all potential. And then Texas State. Obviously, they've been pretty mediocre for the past, 10, 20 years, with a couple good years. Yeah.
Just kidding. Just kidding, guys. Just kidding.
Wacker's rolling over in his grave with comments like
exactly
that.
Exactly, right.
But they have such high aspirations, with the things that they're pulling off, that they're not really a known quantity. And then the fact that they brought in Francione, which is people can say what they want about him. The guy's won almost 200 collegiate games. So they're kind of an unknown quantity, and then the fact that they're moving up. So and that's huge. I mean, recruiting is at least 50% of college football, if not more,
done in Texas.
And if you anywhere, if you can get any kind of foothold into the door, any excuse to come down here. I mean, you look at Texas football annually. They rate Texas as having put out 350 recruits. Not all of them are good, but I mean, it's mind-boggling.
And this morning, we had the State of the WAC address from Carl Benson. What was your impression of the current state of the WAC? Do you feel that it is as stable as he leads us to believe?
I think they're about as stable as they can be expected to be considered. I mean, to say they got a body blow was, I mean, you can't, other than outright disbanding, you can't be in a worse situation.
It's like a double kidney punch, and you're just kind of going around
with
last
a kick to a even more
groin,
sensitive place on top of that.
I think we can say groin.
That's very good. I was going to slip and use another word, but
gotcha.
So I mean, all things considered, I think Benson's done about as good a job as you can expect. That has to be tempered with a little bit. That unless they get at least two. I mean, and the reason I give Carl credibility and I trust what he says is because he doesn't pull any punches with that. I mean, he's the first one to admit we need to get 2 more football teams. He doesn't shy away from that. So at times it's like, is he just being overly optimistic here, or is he the fact that he's pretty candid about what they need to do, that kind of it leads me to want to give him credence. And what I took away from that, what I wrote for tomorrow was, the impression I got was, we still need to fix some things, but the worst is over. And they're not going to have the credibility they once did, but that's out the door. Schools like Texas State and UTSA, I think their aspirations are so high. I don't even think they care about the credibility of this conference. It's just going to.
They just want to go to the FBS, and this is their opportunity.
And incubate and grow, and then whatever happens. So I don't think they really have to be concerned about it. It's just, are we going to have a place that's going to be viable? And it looks to me like they will be. Obviously, with the big question being those football schools. But so I wrote that hey, they took a couple uppercuts and they're still on their feet and moving forward. So.
I guess a few last questions, maybe just one or two. But I asked Idaho's head coach today about does he feel that with Boise State, Nevada, Fresno State, and Hawaii leaving, does it open the door a little bit? For the future of the WAC. And he said he would rather, win this year. He doesn't want those teams to leave before they win.
Yeah.
Do you feel that in 2012, is the door wide open for Texas State and UTSA to compete first thing?
Not UTSA.
UTSA.
They're gonna need time to grow and develop. Texas State, I think, is kind of on the same track. I mean, they're going to have to clean house and get a different caliber of player.
Different kind of athlete in there, because you see those kids. I mean,
I'm
walking around Texas State. They're getting bigger. Franchione and his staff is getting those kids.
He's coached at TCU.
Exactly.
He's coached in the Big 12.
He knows what wins.
He knows exactly what they need to get, and they don't have it right now. The thing is, they'll have more of those kids than UTSA has right now, who has none. I mean, I think, like you heard Coker say, it's like he thought recruiting was going to be a big issue, and without the games having been played, that isn't his concern. And Larry, I mean, if Larry doesn't know what a Division I player is, a guy that coached Barry Sanders and any number of studs at Miami, then nobody does. And Franchione is, a guy that coached LaDainian Tomlinson, and he knows what it takes. So UTSA is at the very bottom of that barrel. Texas State is in the same barrel, but they have an advantage in that they've got guys that have actually played college football before. So right now, I think competing for league titles I just don't see that as being viable for the near future.
And now, I guess for what you could have expected for this media day to be for Texas State. or just for UTSA? Do you think that was accomplished? Do you think it got their name out there? Do you think it got the word out that these two schools from Texas are here to stay?
Yeah, I mean, like we were just talking to some guys in the press room, and they're going to be writing about, one guy specifically, Brian Murphy, who I really like from the Idaho Statesman, was, writing that this league in a lot of ways is really hanging its hat on these two schools that come in and be key members. So, I mean, any football team is going to be important. And then when they bring, the Texas reputation and the potential, Texas State having been a great team in the past and has obviously had some major facility improvements and has been really aggressive. And then UTSA, obviously, their potential, playing in the Alamo Dome in such a large city, it's pretty obvious to see why people are
excited.
And maybe not even excited, but putting a lot of expectations and
calling them the next Boise State, even.
Yeah, which to me, I'll be frank. We talked about what kind of credibility Carl has. I think that's a little bit more PR from his standpoint, because I mean, we might not see another Boise State for another 100 years in any conference. But on paper, I think both of these schools are bringing things that a lot of potential to the table, and then the fact that, hey, they're in dire need of anybody, that you can see why they're getting the kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Responsibility isn't quite it, but obviously people are putting a lot on their shoulders.
And potential, as Brad Wright used to say, it just means that you haven't done it yet.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's well-founded in both these schools' state. It's not like we're going to do that. I mean, obviously with UTSA, the facilities, that's going to be a huge challenge, but it's not unreasonable to see, playing in the Alamo Dome, playing in the largest city in the country
without
it's fairly
football presence.
Easy, right? It's fairly easy to see why people would be excited about them. And then with Texas State again, this is a team that's won before in a big way, and I go to their stadium and it's like a different facility now.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say it was a dump, but it was just a stadium, and now you go and that's
with the West Side Complex, and then once they built that,
the
North Side expansion, but that they just cracked ground on not too long ago, and they're drilling the pylons now.
Yeah,
that thing's gonna be special. They're gonna be.
Yeah,
good.
they've already got people a lot of times don't consider baseball, softball, some of those school, but they have great facilities for those. UTSA, they do have money right now for top-notch soccer and track facilities. So obviously they're gonna present this and spin it their way, but it's not like people are just pulling stuff out of their rear end.
Exactly.
I mean, a lot of this stuff is already happening.
And you see what UTA built with that event center. That it can only help.
UTSA would kill for something like that. And I don't know how.
But
Texas
the bird
State,
cage, come on.
I don't know.
Center.
I don't know how Texas State feels about their play, but
take down the wall. That's the only thing I hear them yelling about.
I love the wall. I love the wall. It's you walk in there and you're like, what the hell is?
What is this?
Who approved this plan? But
those questions go unanswered sometimes until someone gives me a straight answer about it. But that makes it fun.
Yeah.
But that's great.
And here's the way I look at it: both these schools have very high hopes and expectations. If you can't come in and build a program in this conference with the state it's in, probably wasn't going to happen anyway.
Exactly.
So,
it's the true mark of a good coach to go out and create these winning programs. With the basis that you have. And the area that they're in. So I have a feeling that only time will tell. And the 2011 football season is a month and a week away or so now.
Yeah.
And UTSA's first game is
the third.
The third against who?
Yeah.
Who are they opening?
Northeastern Oklahoma.
Oh,
Northwestern.
powerhouse.
Yeah.
You can't get it straight. There's a bunch of these. Such a powerhouse.
I always get the directional schools mixed up.
Texas State gets Texas Tech.
I'm more interested in the Bacone College and the Minot States of the world. Those
Tarleton State, the Brad Wright specials, I used to call them. Yeah. But it's all good. And with
the guy's gone. Cut us some slack.
I know. He's a good guy. He's down at Wharton now doing whatever. But, thank you. And we'll be talking to you later. Thank you very much.
All right.